Welcome, Roast Nation. This is Prime Roast. Chris Cordani here with Angie Wong. Busy week this week. And just a bit of a while ago, right a little before we started taping this show, we had a budget resolution pass. A little while ago, we had tariffs go up and down and all around. This is a fun week so far.
Yeah, I've been doing nothing but becoming an expert on US tariffs and just all the global impact of all of this. And, I don't know about you, Chris. Does it feel a little bit like kabuki theater to you? Because I'm almost wondering what's really, really behind all of this. Yes, tariff is the talking point. That's the narrative going out. And it's certainly consuming all media, global media as we speak, as I've been on air since like midnight talking about this. People overseas, very, very nervous. The US, Americans, we're their biggest market. They all want us. But I think there's something else going on here. It gets really, really deep. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where do you think we are at? And do you think that this is just kind of act one of some sort of American industrial revolution that we're seeing?
We might be seeing a real economic reset. And I'm not talking about the great reset that Klaus Schwab wants. Those guys wanted something almost the exact opposite. What President Trump is trying to do is force other nations to come to the negotiating table when it comes to the high tariffs they have put on us and the horrible trade imbalances we had to put up with probably since the 40s in some aspects. We'll get into that as we speak. But you're also looking at the idea where he still wants to at least eliminate or sort of marginalize the income tax in the future. I'm not sure if he can really pull that off, but hey, it wasn't here throughout our full American history anyway. We had to fund wars with it.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, most of these tariffs, these unfair tariffs, came on after World War II because the U.S., was trying to help other nations rebuild after the war, and now they're just being fully taken advantage of. I mean, I get it. President Trump. We don't want free trade. We want fair trade, right? So I think that's the new reset that you're discussing here. And I think we're going to get there. It's going to take a lot more than just renegotiating deals with all of our foreign players and global players. It's going to take bringing back American greatness and bringing back manufacturing here. And one of the big ways that we need to do that, and then this is Act Two, I believe, is that we have to start deregulating a lot of our industries and a lot of our manufacturing and everything else just to kind of clear the pathway so that we can bring back jobs and manufacturing and all those good things. Now, again, I still feel it's a little bit kabuki theater. I feel like putting on the makeup and the robes because there's something else going on here that I can't really scratch it. And here's my itch.
Oh, the
The
itch.
first, yeah, the itch. The
I'm putting on my
first
robe
thing
too.
China did when Trump put on additional tariffs on them last week was that China pretty much shut off our supply of rare minerals, and they made a big show of it like this: you're going to punch me, I'm going to punch you back with limiting your supplies, which really cripples everything because we can't manufacture anything, especially electronics, without these seven main rare minerals, none of which I can pronounce, by the way. um,
The rare earths.
yeah. And then that those key words kind of triggered, remember the tantrum that Zelensky had in the Oval Office? And then the very next day, they were talking about a rare earths mineral negotiation. So I think all of that's actually in play here. It's like, I think that is the actual kind of card, the Trump card that's being used here. So anyway, all of this is fascinating to me. I'm trying to make sense of all of it. I'm watching all the players kind of fold. It's actually quite fun to see all that happening. But I also know that there's a lot of stuff that we're not talking about, including tariff circumvention, right? We're all like cheering like, oh, wow, 70 countries have now called the White House trying to negotiate. And Vietnam dropped, its tariffs down, basically from 1.5% to zero. I laugh at all this because I think I think to myself, wow, do we not really know what's going on? Because most, and then someone please, one of our audience members, please correct me, but I think the large majority of Vietnamese factories are actually owned by the Chinese, right? So you have that circumvention happening. You have Mexico and you have Canada who's dropped their tariff rates with the US to zero. But isn't that just a backdoor way of bringing in goods from overseas? If I'm the EU, why don't I park it up in Toronto and then drive it through Vermont, and all of a sudden I get to benefit from zero taxing. And there's a lot of that kind of transaction happening. So all of this is just fascinating. So that's why I think it's a kabuki theater, because they've already created channels and different ways for all these high tariff countries to bring goods into the US with virtually, 0 to 10% tariffs. So what is this really about? And I think it's actually really about US debt. But, again, I'm not an economist, but we do have a lot of debt that we have to pay back that we can't pay back every single year because we just don't make enough money, right? So we're paying over $2 trillion in interest rates and things like that. So we got to stop that kind of crap.
Well, it's
Um,
funny. How about this? How about the idea that that this sort of weird economic reset could or should likely trigger the Federal Reserve to act in kind, find a way to fight inflation, possibly having to lower the interest rates. Check this out. Trying to lower the interest rate. Thus, we have to pay our debt back with lower rates. And that makes
yes,
it a little bit
that's
easier.
what we're doing.
Getting all this from the overseas goods and the trade getting a little more fair. And that's another thing. We've been carrying these nations for a very long time. When, like you said before, it was a good thing after World War II. We had to help them rebuild.
Mhm.
Now, with the overprinting of money, with the intense debt this nation has, maybe the kindness of our hearts say, yeah, we'd like to keep letting this happen, but the reality, the brain side says, I'm sorry, we can't afford it anymore. We have to call you guys. We've been carrying you for long enough. No more. Help us out a little bit. Let's even things out, or make it a little more even. Secondly, let's look at the Middle East. Not the Middle East, Middle America. Middle America and the middle class in America has been systematically destroyed. As a matter of fact, Secretary Bessent said something about that very poignantly on the Tucker Carlson show. But the idea is that the systematic destruction of the middle class, especially in what the left calls flyover territory, they were deliberately setting up legislation, setting up our systems so manufacturing would move out. You make the rest of middle America poor, hopefully as dependent as a lot of the urban blight areas on the government, probably trying to create more votes that way. Think about that. Yet there is something called a work ethic among those in the middle. They want jobs. They want manufacturing or other kinds of work to come back. And well, what happens here? You have a president who comes in and says, "All right, maybe my strategy is going to work. It'll change up the economy a bit, but it'll also rebuild the middle class." And what does the World Economic Forum not want to create a globalist society? They don't want a strong middle class. The middle class is what keeps the first world afloat. The middle class is what keeps the first world and the free world what it is. And you see the West using Western European nations and US and Canada doing anything possible from immigration policy to economic policy to destroy and hamper the middle class.
But
And
Chris, I got to ask you, do you think that your children are going to be pattern makers? Do you think that we're going to be sewing Levi's jeans here in America? Do you think that's what American kids are going to be doing? Because what we're seeing overseas, the real factories, the new generation of factories, they're called dark factories. They're called dark factories because they don't have any lights on, because they're just automated and it's 24 hours manufacturing of something. There's no humans, right? So, I mean, I think about that. This is where the kabuki theater comes in again.
well,
We're giving the promise of American jobs. We're giving,
all right, all right,
prosperity,
all right.
but we're
Let's
not
take this
actually
back
doing
one.
that.
Let's take this back one. Construction jobs. I'm gonna dig deep there. Yes, I know a lot of this is gonna be automated. Construction and maintenance jobs in there, and mechanical maintenance. You need people like that
Yeah.
to handle such things. You can't just run these automated factories and just turn your back on them. Somebody has to take care of these machines. Secondly, there will be assembly lines. There will be cars built in America if this whole thing works out. And the idea is those jobs will be coming back as well.
Some jobs, right?
Not
But
all, not all.
I
It
don't
won't
think,
be. It won't be like the 60s and 70s or the 40s or the
No,
50s.
it won't be. And I think that's what Andrew Yang was alluding to back in the days when he was running. Because here's the thing, so much of our industries are automated right now. We just don't have it because, it is what it is. But hopefully governors will give incentives to bring these industries back, and hopefully they'll try to entice them into their states. And hopefully, I think the next stage of this is to deregulate a lot of what has kind of clogged our industries from actually wanting to manufacture here. That's a big one, right? Just to bring costs down and quality up, hopefully. There's a lot of hopefullys, and I'm excited. I'm nervous because we know that, my love for consuming now, I might have to bring that back down because
Oh, yeah.
things will cost a lot more for a
So
while.
instead of the Maserati, you gotta get the Lamborghini, right?
Well,
I'm kidding.
I like my American cars. Don't take it.
I
I
know.
love my American cars. So that's not going to change. And I'm already on board with all of that. It's almost impossible though to buy completely American when you realize every single thing is made overseas. It really is. And when you pull apart the parts, they're made overseas. So we've got a little bit of no, a little bit. We have a lot of catching up to do. But the tariffs thing, guys, look at the real issues here. The fact that Trump has put a 90-day freeze on a lot of the tariff talks, with the exception of China, tells me he is here to target China. And why?
Yes,
Because
he's
they hold a
trolling.
lot of our debt.
He's trolling China, and that's where I was hoping to get into here because this whole thing may work out on a lot of fronts, but at this point, you got to think much of this is Trump trolling China, trying to get them to the table, trying to get them to stop with the horrid business practices that Kevin O'Leary was talking about in front of the House a House committee just yesterday. Again, at the time of us taping, he did this on Wednesday. A couple of days ago, he actually Kevin O'Leary trolled China just a little while ago. You want to hear what he has to say?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to it.
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP, Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough.
And that's important. Administration that puts up and says enough. Donald Trump has been talking about this for a long time. I believe he said this. There's a video floating around social media of him when he, was like decades ago talking about this very same thing. He had this plan all along. Think about it. China has not been playing by the rules. They're very business unfriendly to the U.S., but they expect to, or they're able to do business here willy nilly. They own a lot of our debt, a lot of our treasuries, and we can't do the same thing.
But okay, here's the monster I'm going to bring into the table. We've allowed that to happen for 3 or 4 decades. That's our own presidents, our own congressional members who've invited this monster in, right? So for Trump to be the dragon slayer and to save the day, well, this was a long, slow burn, right? That came around. I remember having these chats even when I was a kid, like in the 80s and 90s, right? We were inviting this. We were inviting this mess. And now we have a really big mess because guess what? We fed the monster all these years. Trump, I love that he's doing it. I love all of this. I love the tennis with the ping pong that we're seeing. I love all of it. I think that I just can't wait to see the resolution of this. Who is going to blink first, Chris?
It's going to be a big contest. It's going to be a huge stare down. But ultimately, China, just as much as our companies want to do business in China, um, they want to do business with us too. They sell to us. We're
Of
huge
course.
consumers. That's our
We're the
job
biggest
around the world.
consumers for them.
Right.
The biggest.
But this is also another statement from a lot of us who say, you know what, I'm not a big fan of them using child labor, and we have to deal with unions. And while we give American workers a fair wage, or at least for the most part, give them livable wages, the Chinese take competitive advantage by virtually enslaving people.
Yes and no. If you ever been to a Chinese factory, you'll see what's actually going on. Yes, I mean, look, they have different rules of engagement because guess what? They're a different country, right? So we can't really apply Americanness to them in many ways. Do you like it? No, no one likes it. But I don't think that is necessarily the main narrative there. I mean, a lot of them is actually, a lot of the factories there are actually quite modern in comparison. So I think some of these talking points could be dispelled. Here's the thing about China. They have the worst possible PR in the whole entire world. They just don't do PR well, and they don't understand that, like, a lot of people look at them like aliens because they kind of, it's a cultural thing. I never could understand it even when I was a little baby reporter editor in Hong Kong. And I just went, they'll never want to adapt to the Western way of thinking. And I think that's one of their main problems.
Or maybe they have the same PR people as Kamala Harris did during her campaign. By the way, speaking of Kamala Harris, we haven't been roasting anybody in a little while, so let's.
Oh, we miss her. We miss roasting her.
Yeah, well, she roasted herself here. Think about this. Just a couple of days ago, she patted herself on the back over this comment, and people were saying, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah, yeah." This, as the kids say, didn't quite age well, considering the markets are back.
And these are the things that we are witnessing each day in these last few months in our country. And it understandably
She always sounds like she's about to
creates a
cry.
great sense of fear. Because, there were many things that we knew would happen. Many things. I'm not here, so I told you so.
Get it out. Get it out. I miss her awkward pauses, her talking, her speech, all of it. Chris, you train people on speech and how to debate. I mean, that sound gap, it actually gives me anxiety the way she speaks.
The dramatic pause does have a place
Does
when it comes to
it?
speaking. When a good orator uses the dramatic pause quite well. The problem is this woman, again, she cackles, she laughs, she acts like she doesn't take anything seriously. And I don't think the pause is a genuine pause. It's not a real dramatic pause. It's a pause where, what will I say now? What should I say? Oh no, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I didn't want to say. I told you so, but
Yeah, it's like I hate making fun of her, but really, she just doesn't know how to do public speaking. And that's like the only thing you need to do as a politician, right? If nothing else, you just need to be able to read off a teleprompter and deliver it to the point where I'm gobbling it up. She can't do it. She just sounds foolish. So she thinks she has a real shot in 2028. That's what her consultants are telling her.
Oh, I did catch that poor, unfortunate choice of words, but well, when it comes to Kamala Harris, well, we'll say that for a different day. Uh,
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think she's trying to figure out what she's going to do with herself. Yeah, no, look, I miss her. I miss Kamala, I miss Harris. You should come back because we need a lot of material for this show.
the only people who might be worse advisors as far as PR to China and Kamala Harris are those for Tim Walz. I mean, this guy, he campaigned on valor thievery, tampons for boys' bathrooms, and of course, all sorts of wokeness. But I think he got his comeuppance here while he was trying to talk with in front of a bunch of veterans.
Oh boy.
Welcome You're welcome to come. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Boy, nobody likes him.
Hey, there's some passion in the room.
There's some passion in the room. So, Chris, as a political advisor, what do you do when you're on stage and you're getting booed off stage? Like, what is the advisable thing? Do you walk away? Do you try to talk over them? Like, what do you suggest for Tim Walz?
This is a tough one because Walz backed himself up into a corner. He just has to take it at this point. Unfortunately, he can't lie about his service anymore. Everything's been exposed. He tried to lie his way out of it when he was addressing it. You can't really get him out of it. So he has to just stand there and take it at this point and then wait to speak. That's the only thing you can really let him do. Because if he walks off, he looks worse. If he tries to make excuses, he looks worse.
Yeah.
Just you have to just get your point out and leave afterward.
But knowing all this, knowing his DD 214 papers, call him out on his lies, why is he even doing a veterans event? Like, why stand next to a cardboard cutout and pretend like all this is fine, right? I would stay completely away from it if he knows that this is an issue. Why did his team let him do this?
Well, his team let him do that because all they have to do is let it be known that he was at a veterans event. It doesn't matter if they were yelling at him or anything. For Democrats and for people in Minnesota, they're just like, okay, well, see, he cares about the veterans.
Right,
That's
because here's a
all they care
picture.
about knowing. Right.
Yeah, here's a picture of him standing next to a cardboard cutout of a real veteran. There we go.
That's
Visuals.
all they need. And it doesn't matter because the video is no accountability for Democrats in office. Absolutely none. So all he has to do is stand there, do a photo op. Doesn't matter if they're booing him. Doesn't matter if nobody likes him because the Democrats will call him brave and stunning.
Yeah, guys, now you realize politics is all smoke and mirrors and kabuki theater.
Hey, even the paid protesters are. Check this out. Did you get to? There's a video going around with a young woman who talked about being a paid protester and what it took and the requirements to be one. I got to tell you, your liberal friends are going to tell you, that doesn't happen. Nobody's paid. Protesters aren't paid. You guys are lying because Trump told you that. Well, let's hear from somebody who actually filled out a questionnaire to become a paid protester, Angie.
I was one of the paid protesters at the April 5th liberal protests. And so I just wanted to come on and talk about my experience, what I had to do to get paid, and how much I got paid. So there were two kind of parts to it. The first was obviously just showing up. They gave me like a time and a place and told me to look for a girl with blue hair and a nose ring.
Well, that narrows it down. Look for a girl with blue hair and a nose ring at a lefty protest.
Is this real? Chris, do you think this is real?
Yeah, this I actually do. Because, again, I see a lot of these things that aren't real. This one sounds real. And listen forward. But again, that narrows it down. If somebody tells you, Angie, to look for a girl with with blue hair and a nose ring at a lefty protest, you'll be knocking on. You'll be hitting up 50 people before you find the right person.
That's right.
It must be really hard, because I thought like everyone was gonna look like that, but luckily she was the only one. It was really easy to find her. So yeah, that was good. I checked in. They told you that you couldn't wear anything MAGA. They also asked you not to wear red. So I just wore a black t-shirt and jeans. And yeah, I checked in, and then they said just like go on the march. And then at the end there would be like a questionnaire to answer. Oh, and then the other thing is they said they would pay extra if you brought a sign. So I did bring a sign. Again, same thing, like couldn't be MAGA, had to like be in line with like the liberal agenda. So my sign said, everyone deserves a good education.
That's a good question, Angie. What is it with liberal women, leftist women, and the constant upspeak?
Yeah.
It's like they're asking your question.
Is it the upspeak? Yeah, you're right. It's the accent, you have a liberal accent. The same way you have a gay accent, you have a liberal accent. And they mainly target women and white women. And there's a good reason for that, right? I think that is a group that can, well, it could be marketed to very, very well. And that's clearly what you're seeing right here. It's someone who's been marketed to. I know she did because I've seen these. You go on Craigslist and there's lots of listings for this stuff. They're called actors, but they're not actors. They're paid protesters. I remember seeing it back during the BLM days. And when I was living in the West Village in New York City, they had like literal flyers everywhere to be a actor when it's really just a paid protester. And I forget how much they paid. It was a few $100 for the afternoon. So why wouldn't you do that? Like, what else are you doing as a liberal? You're probably, hanging out at the park. Oh, I can make $300 while I hang out at the park. Cool.
Yeah, just get out of the basement for a while, stop gaming for a little bit, or trying to get waiting in line at Starbucks. You get paid for this.
Yeah.
Here's a little more.
He said, just like do your best and then come talk to her at the end. So for example, there's one I didn't really know what to say. It was like, what is critical race theory and
The questionnaire.
why should it be taught, and like what's an example of like something that you could learn from it? And I like didn't know what they wanted the answer to, so I just asked her about that one, and the answer that she gave is basically they just want people to understand the lasting effects and impact of segregation and discrimination.
And see, this woman, I guess, with the blue hair and the nose ring, was coaching these kids on what to answer the questionnaire because they have no idea. I mean, by now you saw the one, that dummy with the big "Trump's a fascist" sign that didn't even know what he was carrying it for.
Yeah. And it's funny because one of the requirements for a lot of these guys is to show proof that they're a protester, right? So what they end up doing is putting up videos, making videos of themselves, putting it up on TikTok, showing them protesting. Same thing with the Tesla vandalizers. They got paid, what was it, $1,000 if they can prove that they vandalized a Tesla, right? So they would make these dumb videos that got these people arrested, right? Just to get that $1,000. This is who's paying it.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's trolling. It sounds like somebody's trolling those people to do that, and then sorry, and we're not going to give you the money. You're going to jail, or at least maybe that money is good for bail, or at least put it towards bail or something like that. These people should go to jail. They again. This is going to be a 4-year collective hissy fit, just like the first time Trump was elected. They don't let up. They won't let up. They're going to vandalize. They're going to destroy things. They're going to burn down neighborhoods in the future. They're going to find an excuse for that. Say, but what about January 6th?
I know. That's all they can go on. And guess who was bailing them out? Do you remember this, Chris? Who was bailing them out in California?
Kamala, the Cackler Harris. And yes, Joe Biden helped out too, by the way.
Yeah.
They encourage this. You heard Maxine Waters. Bury them. Don't let them have a peaceful moment. Take it to the streets.
Do you think those moments are over finally? I'm like ready to get back into real life. Like, no, I don't know. You can only be gaslit for so long. I think it's over now, but
no. Yeah, again, they like to say the people who voted for Trump are in a cult, but these people are actually in a cult. They'll do and say whatever their overlords tell them to do without question, and it's like their religion. Politics, the state has become their religion. But people do fight back. In New York City, there was a pro-Hamas protest the other day, and there's some people up in this building who knew how to handle it. Check it out. Garbage. Tossing up garbage right into the picture. I love that.
Oh, good. Oh, man, I want to do that.
Here it comes again. As Van Dyke said, shoots away. Remember that game, Shoot Away?
Hey, listen, if you have dogs, you could throw other things down. You could be throwing a lot of, things
look at down here,
I don't want to say it on air.
And the garbage just blends right in, doesn't it? And there's also people throwing dog poop. There's another video with people throwing dog poop.
That's what I was trying to get at. I was trying to say that.
The poop and the garbage blends right in. You couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, no, it's time to stop. Look, we know now that these things are organized. Someone's paying for it. And unfortunately, it's a lot of foreign money involved, right? So, New York's, it's got to stop. It's actually, it's almost like the boy who cried wolf. No one cares anymore, you guys. I'm sorry to say this, but like we gave you the summer of love, and that was enough. Like now you got to go get a job. All right, it's time to grow up.
Ooh, get a job. That was one of the worst insults of the 1980s. Get a job.
Yeah.
You're just roasting people today, Angie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we do every single week. And we can't wait to roast some more with you guys. I'm sure by next week, we're going to have a whole lot of new videos coming out. Look, every single day is like an amazing news month, right? And that's how Trump keeps it. We like to keep roasting. And look, liberals, they can't get up because we keep slamming them with more and more and more and more EOs and material and everything. They just can't get up. So we're going to keep doing that.
Yes, we will, and we have a lot more videos too. We have to move those to the next show because there's a lot coming out now with this new book about the Kamala Harris campaign. That the Democrats were working their best, and the media working their best to try to hide Joe Biden's decline. Chuck Todd recently explained it on Piers Morgan that it's true, but nobody wanted Trump to win in those media and Democrat circles, and a lot of people are going to come out about this. We'll have some clips about that in the coming weeks, and that'll be a lot of fun. But Angie, this was fun with another great roasting session, and it was good to talk about the tariffs seriously as well, because sometimes we have serious sides, people.
Oh yeah. It just shows that we actually have a couple of brain cells, not that much anymore, but
right.
Yeah, I'm trying to multiply. I don't know. Maybe there's a pill for that. But no, hey,
lose some more.
We'll see you guys next week for another great episode, and we might have some special guests with us next week. So do tune in.